looking to throw it, and he's got the touchdown! Here's Brady's pass. It's Gronkowski! Oh, Max strips it! He is unbelievable!
Week 16 is in the books. The playoffs for NFL football are coming fast, like really fast. I'm super excited. I know you are as well, Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Tabor Gridiron podcast. I'm Steven here with Isaac once again. I want to start this way a little different, Isaac. I know we didn't really kind of talk about this, but John Madden. John Madden was an NFL Hall of Fame coach. He's a broadcasting icon, face of the legendary Madden vintage NFL video game.
Oh, that is amazing.
I mean, I don't know if you can really say vintage now because it's still being made.
Oh, yeah.
It's been being made since the 90s, year in and year out. But the awesome, legendary broadcast icon, John Madden, has died at 85. And if you love football, you know who John Madden is. If you even like football just a little bit, heck, if you don't even like sports, you know who John Madden is.
You do.
Like, everybody knows who John Madden is. I put together some highlights of some of his broadcast stuff and wanted to share that with you. Check it out.
Look at the determination. He reads run the whole way. He reads Humphrey the whole way. He takes off for the jump before Humphrey takes off for his jump. That is football.
Didn't get it again.
That's unbelievable. This is unbelievable. What in the heck is going on? One play here, does he make up for it? Watch this. It's a zone. It's a prevent defense. There's three backers around him. They release right there. And Steve Young throws a perfect pass in there. Holy moly.
There's a pigeon on the field. How did he get in there?
Well, he wanted to get down there. He couldn't get a seat. He tried to get up above, and there was no place. The only place there was only that he could land is right there.
He was in the middle of the action. I thought the shoe came off.
I'll tell you, there's the throw. Johnson really has him beat. And there's the pigeon was right there where Johnson was running. I think there were two pigeons there. Johnson's trying to run a post pattern, and the pigeon's getting away.
And they're still there.
That's, the old thing, you can run down to the pigeon and turn left. He wants to get in a fight. You can't do that. The quarterback, you can't fight. He got sacked. He was trying to throw a quick pass, a quick hitch out here, and Galt was covered. And then after he couldn't, had he thrown it, he would have been intercepted. He just had to hold it and take the sack.
It's true, you don't hear about many quarterbacks being in fights.
No, usually they're off, telling everyone, calm down, calm down. See, I think it's that extra hit there at the knee when Doug Reed came over the top. Then McMahon said, when you're a quarterback, the way you fight a guy is you throw the ball at him. Sean Taylor really came up on that one. You're going to see Patrick Creighton. He's the middle receiver. He's right in this group here. And you see he comes under control to catch that hook. And Sean Taylor, the safety, just comes up and unloads on him. See how heat does come out of the top of your head? Look at it, just coming off at Nate's head there. That's where it escapes. If you have heat in your body and you want to let it out, you take your hat off.
Yeah.
What you could do is you could have a barbecue on that head.
Nate's got a lot of room to let it out.
Yeah. I mean, you could cook like some burgers on there. Look at, now you're talking. I mean, this is football. When you got steam coming out of your head and your mouth, now you're talking football. You're controlling that offensive line. This is what it's all about. It's a playoff game. If you win, you go to the championship. Whoa, what are you talking about? That is great football. Gary Reasons on that drive made three of the best hits I've ever seen him make in his life, or I've ever seen anyone make, and this is the best of the three best.
Wow.
That is just a tiny glimpse of who John Madden was. I mean, how could you not like that, right, Isaac? I mean, how could you just not love John Madden?
Mm-hmm.
John Madden was a well-known Hall of Fame coach. I didn't really know this until I really looked it up, Isaac. His record, just outstanding. 103 wins, 32 losses.
Oh, wow.
7 ties. I mean, the record is just, wow, absolutely amazing. He retired as a coach early, went into broadcasting, and so many people just know him as broadcasting games for years upon years. I grew up listening to him, watching him. Him and Al Michaels were my favorite. I know he was with a bunch of different people, but John Madden and Al Michaels, that was some good stuff. Absolutely awesome. And then, of course, the video game. I mean, again, if you don't even like sports, if you're just a video game guy, you know who John Madden is. Oh, for sure. I mean, you're playing Madden games, Isaac. Here, I played them as a kid, and that's just really cool to see. So he's had an impact in the game of football, has shaped football, has taught football, has helped people fall in love with football. So thanks, John, for the inspiration, for the love of football, for giving your talents for so many years over and over. John Madden. All right, Isaac, week 16 of football. What do you got?
Well, first off, I think we should talk about the Bears and the Seahawks game because finally, the Bears have delivered. Finally, I know, miracles in Christmas time, Christmas miracle. And they beat the Seahawks. And this is not, and I am happy that they just won, but they beat the Seahawks. Now, we all know that the Seahawks haven't been doing very good this year. Russell Wilson has been hurt. He's just not been himself. The whole team just hasn't been themselves and whatnot. But I'm still just not overjoyed.
I don't think Russell's really been the same since his injury.
You're right. After that injury, I think he got affected, not just physically, but I think mentally, and his playing style has really degraded. I don't think it's permanent. I think he'll be able to come back and really just keep working, and he'll be able to come back and be the Russell that we know. But until then, it's been pretty easy to get a win against the Seahawks. And clearly, if the Bears have the same record as the Seahawks, then there's a problem.
Right. It isn't saying much that they beat the Seahawks, but the fact that they did get the win is pretty awesome.
By 1, so.
Yeah, but we started our third quarterback. Like, the team is struggling, and we know this. But I'm glad to see Nick Foles in there. Glad to see him. And I keep saying for years, that's what Nick Foles has done best, is he's a great, sorry, Nick, and no disrespect, but I think he's a great cleanup quarterback. The teams that he's even been on, that he's won the Super Bowl on, he's coming in to kind of clean things up. And then the seasons that he's been the starter, he struggled and didn't play that well. I feel like he does a really good job just sitting on the sidelines, sitting on the bench, watching and analyzing, seeing like all the problems that are happening and going on, then getting thrown into a game and executing well.
Yeah, I think you're right about that because clearly we've seen he's been on multiple different teams. He's been all around the league. And the one thing that he's had in common in all of those different spots is, and the thing that many quarterbacks, you see this all the time in the league, is they can be, we talk about this all the time with the Patriots and the Buccaneers and especially the Bears. It's all about the environment, the coaching, the players, and how the overall team and staff and how they operate things can affect a player. Because we saw Mitchell Trubisky on the Bears. He was horrible. I don't know, no offense, but he was horrible. And he goes to the Bills and he beats us 41 to 20 something. And that was just, we were shocked. How is he doing that? He's a backup quarterback. He's on the Bills, and he's thriving. And we saw that with Mac Jones. He's a rookie. He goes to the Patriots. Bill Belichick is a fantastic coach. He coaches him. They're going to the playoffs. That's just a crazy thing that happens. And I think the thing that happens...
Playoffs? What are the playoffs? I mean, the Bears, do they even know what the playoffs are?
Yeah.
I mean, It's been a rough ride for sure. I agree with you 100% and everything. What's crazy about that game, they played in Seattle. Now, if this was in Chicago, it would kind of be understandable. They played in Seattle in the snow.
They did. And
it was an epic snow game. It was awesome. But in Seattle?
I know, right? That's the crazy thing because Seattle, they don't have a dome, and honestly, I think with these teams having domes, it's nice to have domes, and you have your artificial grass and stuff. But I think like when you're out in the elements and you're playing in the snow, that gives you an advantage because you're able to play in all sorts of environments. Because teams that have domes often aren't as able to cope with other types of environments. They have a lot harder times with snow, and that's not often their fault. Like if they're a team in like a southern climate and it's hotter and they don't get snow all the time, that's fine. You can't do anything about that. But even with like rain and stuff like that, it's just I like domes, but I also like it when they are able to play in the snow, and especially because with all these teams having domes now, and you get to see a snow game, that is always a treat. Like I always love seeing snow games. It's always fun to see what's going to happen because a lot of the times with snow games, this time it was Chicago and Seattle, so they both are well acquainted with snow, so they know how to deal with it. But I love games where it's like a Texas team or like Georgia team or something like that, and they go out and they're slipping and everything. That's funny, and that's fun.
It's cool. I agree with you. I do like. Well, I like the domes. A lot of injuries happen, especially like on the Bears field where it's just that real grass and whatnot.
I forgot about
but
that.
I could throw all that aside because I'm with you on that. There is something about just football played in the elements that makes it fun, and it adds another layer of skill to the players because, and even the coaches. Like if you look at Bill Belichick a couple weeks ago against the Buffalo Bills, like Mac Jones, threw it 3 times?
Oh, yeah.
Because it was so like the blizzard and the snow and the wind and the sleet, and you had to do a different game plan of football and come up with a different way to win. I agree with you. I love the elements there. Thursday night football, I don't really want to focus so much on Thursday night football. It's just it kind of happens week in and week out. We talked about it a while ago with Justin Taylor and just how teams struggle with sometimes blocking one particular person in a game, which is kind of wild. So if you look at the Titans and the 49ers, it wasn't really a blowout game, but A.J. Brown, he comes back from an injury, his first game, and just lit up the field. He was all over the place. The 49ers had no answer for him. I mean, just piling up yards, and the Titans end up winning the game basically because of A.J. Brown. And it's just amazing to me. You're sitting there watching the game like, how do you allow one player to just totally dominate the entire game? Like, stop the guy. And they couldn't. And we see this like week in and week out with different players or different teams. And it's kind of wild.
It is pretty wild because you think, especially with like good teams, like the 49ers are a good team. They got a nice offense. They got Jimmy Garoppolo. They got George Kittle. They got it put together. They're figured out. And it's really interesting to see that one player pretty much stopped their whole team. It's not even, I mean, A.J. Brown is a great player, but he just came back from an injury and he just completely blew them out of the water. And since they're such a put together team, you'd think that they'd like it'd click and they'd be like, oh, it's A.J. Brown, just double team him or something like that. But no, nothing clicked. They tried and they just could not stop him. Well, that's right.
Once he beats you like so many times, wouldn't you just be like, all right, this guy's done. Somebody else is going to beat us this game. Like that would be my mentality, even as a defense guy. It'd be like, hey, this guy's not beating us anymore. Somebody else has to step up and win this game. We're not letting him do it. And it just seems to not happen. Even, again, Jonathan Taylor a while ago, several weeks ago, whatever, they could not stop him. Then you got the next guy, whether it's a quarterback, whether sometimes it's even just the defensive guy of just, okay, this guy's constantly disrupting on the line of scrimmage. Let's take him out of the game and make somebody else beat us. And they just seem to not do it. Dolphins. I know the Dolphins aren't necessarily like the hot topic, kind of a struggling team. How far are they really going to make it? But what's cool about the Dolphins, if you remember, they were kind of on the bottom of our list for like so long because they started the season 1-7.
That's sad.
Like, yeah, it was pretty sad, but they literally have won 7 games in a row now, and they're currently 8-7.
Really?
Are they going to kind of change things around here? That's pretty amazing, actually, to be 1-7 and then just to like say, hey, we are totally going to game change. And they're actually, to be honest, the first NFL team in history to go on a 7-game winning streak after losing 7 games.
That's impressive.
They're kind of, moving up. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the Dolphins?
I mean, I've never really thought of the Dolphins as like an insane team that like you never really.
Well, you just weren't around for them. I mean, Dan Marino and the Dolphins, I just got to say that right there, were amazing. And even prior to that, have some pretty epic records, people older than me. But I agree, like currently right now, Dolphins
my age,
struggling.
I don't. I mean, I've heard of Dan Marino. I just never watched him and really just experienced that. But from my perspective, the Dolphins were never really just a team that you wanted to go out and see. And you're like, oh, the Dolphins. Not like a team like the Patriots or the Buccaneers or something like that. But now, there's something to consider. They have a record of their own. And I'm sure they have a bunch of records with Dan Marino, but it's still really cool to see.
They are in the playoff hunt as of right now.
Really?
That can totally blow up and fall apart, but as of right now, I do want to talk a little bit of the playoff picture. But before we do that, Isaac, let's go ahead and get a little scores here around the league, Week 16.
What's the score? Nothing. What's the score here?
What's the score? What's the score, Luke? What's the score?
Time for score in 60.
All right, so first off, we got the Dolphins and the Saints. This is a sad win, but because I love the Saints, but it's still crazy. The Dolphins beat the Saints 20-3. The Titans beat the 49ers with basically just A.J. Brown 20-17. The Packers, unfortunately, beat the Browns 24-22. The Colts came on top of the Cardinals 22-16. The Colts have been very good lately. The Eagles with a big win against the Giants 34-10. The Rams beat the Vikings 30-23. The Bills beat the Patriots 33-21. They now have equal records. The Buccaneers in an absolute blowout against the Panthers 32-6. The Jets came on top of the Jaguars 26-21. The Falcons beat the Lions in a pretty close game 20-16. The Texans beat the Chargers in an upset 41-29. The Bengals beat the Ravens as well, 41-21. The Bears in one of their first actual wins that have been satisfying, 25-24 against the struggling Seahawks. The Chiefs unexpectedly beat the Steelers, 36-10. The Raiders came on top of the Broncos, 17-13. And last but not least, the Cowboys in a high-scoring game against the Washington football team, 56-14.
Yeah, that was crazy. Cowboys
crazy.
just walked all over them. Okay, we only have a couple minutes left here, so let's get this playoff picture. The Chiefs are the only team right now in the AFC to have a playoff spot. You go to the NFC, and it's almost pretty much booked. You got Packers, Cowboys, Rams, Buccaneers, and Cardinals are in the playoffs. 2 more spots available on that side. And it kind of can be anybody. 49ers, Eagles, Vikings, Falcons, Saints, Washington. I don't know. I think that the 49ers are going to take that spot. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I don't know. It really could be the Vikings could do it. They did lose Adam Thielen, but it could be the Vikings and the 49ers in that spot. AFC, again, is wide open. Anything can happen. I think the Bills are going to make it in there. Patriots are going to be making it in there. There's just nothing is solidified as of right now. This next week is going to obviously say a lot, especially week 18 is going to be just epic. These next 2 weeks are going to be fun because it's just everybody battling out, especially on that AFC side of getting their spot and getting in to make their run in the Super Bowl. It's going to be pretty epic.
It is going to be very epic, and we will love to have you guys back here to talk about it, and we will see you next time.